welcome back. 11:50 is the time. This is Talk the Home of Common Sense with me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. Now let's talk about Jimmy Lai. We spoke to his son on the show about a week ago, Sebastian, this as he faced, getting an incredibly lengthy service behind bars, sentence behind bars in Hong Kong for being a pro-democracy activist in Hong Kong. He's a millionaire businessman, very, very, very popular figure in Hong Kong, and he's been behind bars on and off for quite a few years now. But he is a British passport holder, and overnight he has been sentenced to 20 years behind bars over the national security laws for Hong Kong. That means that realistically at the age of 78 he will die behind bars. Well, let's talk about this with Tom Tugendhat, Conservative MP, also former security minister. Very good morning to you, Tom.
Hi, Julia. How are you?
Very well indeed. Thank you for joining us. It is extraordinary that the Prime Minister went to China recently. You and I talked extensively about this. You know, handed over the you can have your Chinese big spy embassy next to Tower, to Tower Bridge. You can do that, and I'm going to pay lip service to human rights and all of that and spying. But there was a lot of hope that he might get a deal with Jimmy Lai to get his freedom, given that he is a British passport holder and his only crime is that he has been a protester, peaceful protester for democracy. But it turns out that the Prime Minister really flew back from Beijing with absolutely nothing.
Well, the extraordinary thing is the Prime Minister's biggest moment of leverage, his greatest point of strength, was before he got on the plane.
Yeah.
He didn't have to get on the plane. He didn't get anything else out of this trip. He got £11 billion of investment for AstraZeneca. Oh, no, hang on. That was AstraZeneca investing in China. Sorry, wrong way round.
Yeah.
He got 30-day visa-free trial. Oh, no, hang on again. That was in order to get Chinese businesses developing. Look, again and again and again, he got stuff for China, but he didn't get anything for Jimmy Lai, and he didn't get anything for Britain. Now, my view is that the point of pressure that the Prime Minister had was before he got on the plane. Before he got on the plane, the Prime Minister could have demanded the release of Jimmy Lai. He could have said he wouldn't get on the plane without the release of Jimmy Lai. He could have made an agreement.
But they wouldn't have cared. I mean, they didn't even bother providing a proper, tour of the Forbidden Palace, for goodness sake. They couldn't have cared less whether the Prime Minister turned up or not.
But then why give them the benefit of the visit?
Well, exactly. A question we have asked ourselves, have we not? But this
you and me both.
But we had this extraordinary situation over a few weeks ago where we had the Prime Minister and apparently the entire Foreign Office campaigning to get this El Fattah guy, a British Egyptian national. No one can understand why he was ever given British nationality, who was, basically, wants everyone in Britain to die and is trying to get him out of an Egyptian jail, even though he's clearly an extremist who's anti-Semitic and a danger to this country. And the Foreign Office considered it a top priority, but not a top priority to get a British national out of prison in Hong Kong who's done nothing but campaign for democracy.
Well, Jimmy Lai's crime, as you know, Julia, was doing exactly what you're doing now. It's the crime of journalism, of telling the truth, of asking politicians difficult questions and watching them squirm if they can't answer it. I'm afraid that's essential to democracy. It's not an add-on, it's not an extra, it's absolutely fundamental. And if that's a crime, then you simply do not have a free society. And all of this puts a complete lie to the Sino-British Joint Declaration, which is supposed to apply for 50 years in Hong Kong. OK, it's lasted, well, I was going to say it's lasted 30 years. That's not true. It has been in place for 30 years. It lasted about 10 or 15. And the reality is that what we're now seeing is the full rollout of the Chinese Communist state over Hong Kong. And it is no longer a separate jurisdiction. Yeah. Now, what we should be doing is standing up for British citizens around the world, wherever they are. And Jimmy Lai has committed no crime and is yet a 78-year-old man in prison for no offence, being denied very, very basic rights, including access to his religious beliefs, to Mass.
Indeed. I mean, look, we've got form on this. The Prince of Wales is going to be sent to Saudi Arabia tonight on a 3-day visit to go, have a little bit of a love-in with the Crown Prince there, who, as we know, was behind the torture, murder and dismembering of Khashoggi, again, a then US-based journalist who was being critical of him. We're not really bothered who we cozy up to, in which case, in the context of where we are with Jeffrey Epstein files and Mandelson, bringing it to the resignation of Morgan McSweeney yesterday, and now the Director of Communications today, many talking about Jonathan Powell, the National Security Advisor, having to fall on his sword as well. Who knows what's going to happen in the next few days, even the Prime Minister going, it would appear. But it does appear that, you know, Britain cozies up with some very unpleasant people and some very unpleasant regimes. Is it any wonder that they weren't that bothered about someone being mates with someone who'd solicited prostitution from a 40-year-old girl?
Well, I have to say, let me just be quite clear. The Mandelson affair is utterly horrific, and it's horrific on so many levels, not just the abuse of young girls, which is, you know, horrific enough. But frankly, what we've seen from the evidence that's emerged, from the papers that emerged, really begins to raise questions about treason charges, because the level of leakage, the level of undermining of Britain's interest, you know, effectively making things more expensive for the British people by leaking financial information, all that sort of stuff. If it's proved, if it's true, and, you know, forgive me, but we've only seen PDF documents online, so forgive me for not being 100% confident, it's really serious. It's the most serious betrayal of the British people that I've seen in years. But the idea that this is somehow a betrayal of Keir Starmer is frankly bizarre. Well, not all of this, but a lot of this was already public before he was appointed.
Indeed.
That's why Tony Blair had sacked him twice. I mean, it's pretty bad that Gordon Brown rehired him in a moment of desperation. But the reality is that Keir Starmer cannot claim that he didn't know.
No, indeed. And his links, but well-publicised links, you know, saying on Deripaska's, you know, Russian tycoon, you know, close links to Putin, his yacht, and the Chinese. I mean, you know,
exactly.
There's no question. I'm sure we might have discussed it at the time. But it's not just allegations. And again, he's denied any wrongdoing against Peter Mandelson. The police have been investigating. We've seen police at his home in Wiltshire and in London. But also Andrew, the former prince, now Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, allegations containing these documents. And I like you know, assuming these files are accurate. We don't know that. And people are entitled to be innocent until proven guilty. But if these documents are true, it would appear the allegation is that Andrew also, within minutes of getting any documents, when he was a UK trade envoy, paid good money by the taxpayer to go and represent our country, that he was, it would appear, allegedly, handing information to Jeffrey Epstein as well. We are, again, I've been saying I think this is traitorous, treasonous behaviour. It's not just misconduct in public office. This was Andrew's. He was acting on behalf of his own mother's government.
The extraordinary, I mean, look, both of them, and what I'm terrified about is there may be more, right? I mean, you know, both of them have behaved in ways that are, I mean, again, if it's proved, forgive me for doing all the usual caveats
quite
on this,
right.
but if it's proved, then both of them have frankly betrayed the British people and betrayed the British government and betrayed the Crown, because it's absolutely horrific to be so lackadaisical with, you know, the security of the state, with the interests of the British people, that you're willing to share it with somebody who very clearly has links to the Russian administration in some way. Now, you know, again, let's see what's proved. But it's quite clear that Epstein had links to the Russian administration in some way. It's quite clear that he had links to other governments as well in some way. You know, what is he doing? Is he an agent? Is he a broker? Is he a trader? It doesn't really matter. You shouldn't be sharing information that should be kept secret. And clearly these two, if what is in the documents is proved, that's exactly what they were doing.
Yes or no? Does the Prime Minister have to go? If it was the wrong decision, as Morgan McSweeney said, and he's the one who advised the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister did know, as he admitted at PMQs last week, that, you know, Epstein and Mandelson were still mates after Epstein's conviction, should the Prime Minister go?
Yes, I think it's completely, I use the term accurately, it is completely incredible. It is simply not believable that, you know, Jonathan Powell and, you know, Morgan McSweeney and Tim Allen all advised him, you know, one thing, and he was simply forced into it. Well, in that case, he's not the Prime Minister anyway, so he shouldn't be there.
Very, very good point. He's either making the decisions or he's not. Tom Tugendhat, Conservative MP, former Security Minister, thank you very much indeed. Going to get Benedict Spence's thoughts on what he had to say, particularly in relation to Jimmy Lai, and of course keeping you up to date. Not only did we lose Morgan McSweeney yesterday, we have now lost the Director of Communications for the Prime Minister. I'm not sure that's any great loss given the state of their communications these days. That's not in relation, though, to links with Mandelson or Epstein or anything like that. But does the Prime Minister survive the year, the month, the week, the day? I'd love to hear your thoughts.